Hello and welcome to this overview of yoga for your journey here with Hasidah. My name is Amanda Nube and I have been teaching yoga for the past, it's been over 12 years. I'm trying to remember exactly. And what I feel really passionate about is teaching women and women's bodies really to embody any aspect of yoga. And yoga is a physical practice, and it can also be as subtle as a breath practice or an awareness practice. And for me, they all come together in a package deal, that by doing some of the physical postures, my breath rhythm changes, sometimes a slowness and sometimes a fastness, but more oxygen comes through, and that then changes my mental state, my thought processes, which then inform how I feel, and emotionally it all weaves together so beautifully. So take any part of this, and it doesn't have to be a complete practice. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I really invite you to make this practice work for you with where you're at today. And you can come back to it another time, another day, another week, another month, and it will look different. For me, every day I show up on the mat and just need to honor where I'm at and what my body wants and needs. So I will offer variations, and you are more than welcome to try those variations, try a variation of your own, or to just watch. And watching is also enabling the mind to imagine. And sometimes, just like when we're dreaming, we imagine we're doing all these amazing things, and sometimes our body, even in dream, starts to breathe different and feel different and think different. So that can happen through our eyes as well as our limbs. But the introductory teaching that I would like to bring in to infuse the body practice is one of the teachings that I gleaned from a rabbi by the name of Rabbi Shefa Gold, in a very brief teaching that she gave in response to the story of Noah's Ark and the rainbow that emerges at the end of this flood of destruction. That what is this promise that the rainbow symbolized? And for this practice, Rabbi Shefa Gold offers that in infusing our bodies, our limbs, our every organ, sinew, tissue, bone, fiber of our being, when we embody safety, when we embody that feeling of being on solid ground, then we are able to shine and radiate in all of our multiple colors and all of our multiple ways. And so trusting that the surface that we sit on, the surface that we stand on, is our solid ground, and enabling that solid ground to transfer into our bones, our bodies, and that then permeates our heart and our wisdom and our knowing and our being. So however much you can embody that spirit of ground, embody it, and feel into it. So to start us off, we're going to start in a very seed-like posture. There's a way that we need to sometimes protect, to feel that safety, to feel that solid ground. We need to start off on the ground, and we need to start off in a seed-like position. So we'll start off in what is called child's pose. And there are a lot of different ways of gaining this seed-like posture without being on the knees or on the ground. If you want to do this in a chair, and we'll show that variation first. You'll be sitting in a chair and just folding over, letting your head come down to your lap. So sitting or even standing, and just deeply bending the knees and letting the head come down. A few more words on props before we really start and get going here. Like I said, you can have a chair nearby. You can have a wall nearby. And I do recommend having either a pillow, some pillow from the bed is fine, or a cushion, as well as a blanket to pad underneath the knees. Or a blanket or a towel. It doesn't have to be a blanket. I'm going to remove my socks, and I encourage you to do the same so that you do not slip and slide. If you have a yoga mat, that's great, and if not, just watch out that you modify where your hands and feet are so that you don't slide. All right, so we'll start off in our child's pose. You can pad the knees. You can put as many cushions as you'd like, either below the knees, below your seat here, or even below your head. We do want to get the head down low, so you can take the knees far apart and rest down on the elbows, letting your head hang down, or you can let the head come all the way to the floor, resting forehead on hands. See if turning your head to one side or the other feels better, or having it rest in the middle. And in this deeply folded posture, start to feel that sense I was talking about of being grounded, of landing in the ground, of the floor, the gravity, the compression, as well as the ground of your body. Feeling into the belly, the thighs, the muscles, the calves are getting squished. And then from that ground, we start to lift our attention upwards. Behind the heart, notice your breath has to travel into your back body as the front body is compressed. So take some really nice full big breaths into your back and try to expand the tissue around the spine, like placing cushions, pillows, marshmallows between each vertebrae of the spine, and really inflating, creating space. And notice how now with this head down position, your head has been downward for quite some time. There's a lot of pressure, some blood flow up to the brain, up to the head, up through the throat, behind the eyes. And this pressure we invite and we welcome in specifically to do the job of getting our bodies out of fight and flight and into rest and digest. One more big breath here. Great. And we'll start to come up, lifting the head, getting the blood rushing out of the head. I'm going to come to hands and knees. For some cat-cow. Inhale, lifting the head and the tail. We're going to initiate all of the movement from the tail. The tail's going to tuck, the body back rounds, then the head drops. And same as we inhale again, lift from the hips first, so that tail lifts, the back arches, and then the head. Exhale, tuck tail, round back, head down. And inhale, lift tail all the way up to the crown. Continue this wave-like motion with your breath. Each inhale bringing you into a lifted head. Each exhale tucking, rounding, dropping head. Let's do one more. Exhale. back to a neutral spine. Our neutral spine, I also want to take a moment to give a little instruction about hands, because we're on our hands here, and a lot of time on the wrists can be jarring. So we don't want to slam into the wrist. You do want to press down through all of your fingers and the flat surface of the palm, so that the wrists can even lift up a little. There's some buoyancy there. You can even be more on ridge tops, or if need be, on knuckles. Right? If you're on the wrists and the wrists start to get weary, or you notice there's some space here underneath your palm, again, re-engage, recharge your fingers to take more of the weight and distribute that weight. Right? Same with locking the elbows and arms here. Elbows can be slightly buoyant, not locked, and the eyes of the elbow should not be looking forward, but towards the other arm. So from here, we can neutralize our spine, not letting it drop down with the tail lifted, and not letting it be always overly rounded and contracted. Right? So we just did this variation of cat and cow, and now coming to the midline, you can extend the left leg back, tuck the toes under, and press into the calf to stretch that calf. And I do find that starting off with attention to our spine, our limbs, our straightening, helps give us a sense of our strength here, our power, our core. Change sides, stretching the right leg back, tucking toes under, pressing the heel back, and lengthening. Think of yourself as this long, regal, beautiful creature, extending your tail or your hind legs back. And again, we'll go back to the left leg back, and this time reach the right arm forward. Again, pay attention to the middle, what's going on here, not just the extremities. So you want to lift your belly slightly so that your back could hold a tray. If it was a table, it's not arched, it's not rounded. Flat back, perhaps even lifting that back leg now, but trying to maintain some semblance of flat back. Exhale down. Pause. Another big breath out. Inhale and extend the opposite arm and leg. Right leg, left arm. Inhale here, look up. Exhale down. We'll move side to side. Exhale. Inhale. Left leg, right arm. Exhale down. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Exhale down. Keep going with your breath. Inhale to glide out. Exhale to return. Last one, right leg, left arm. Back to center, and we're going to fold back into that child's pose. And if you need to modify, you don't have to take your hips all the way back. You can just let your head rest down. And child's pose, if it is comfortable to take the hips back, you walk those hips towards the heels. Walk your elbows back, tuck the head down. And again, re-energize and re-breathe into the back of the heart, back of the shoulder. Back to hands and knees. We're going to prep for a downward facing dog. And the modification here is similar to what I just showed for child's pose. If you want to just be down on elbows with the head resting down, that is it's a great incline from the hips to the head that should give the back some traction, so you're getting a little pull. If you can, you tuck your toes, place your hands with all of the weight distributed equally through 10 fingers, the flats of the hand, and then you lift your knees. And you don't have to lift very far. You do want to pull your torso back towards your knees. So pull your belly towards your thighs, let your head hang down, nod the head yes and right. And as it's available to you, feel free to stretch out one leg or the other, or both. But no need to straighten both legs completely in this first down dog. One exhale, sigh. You can feel a little stretch, a little pull behind the heart. And exhale down, back to hands and knees. We'll bring the left foot forward between the hands. If you have blocks, that can be a great aid here in giving you a little more height. Or it can be books. And we're just going to lean a little forward and back. You can modify this all kinds of ways. Pad my back knee here, because my knee likes that. Sometimes instead of having my hands on either side of the front foot, I'm going to take my hands to the inside, because I like to get low, and my body enjoys that flexibility and that stretch. For some, that might be too much, in which case being higher up might be more your speed. So trusting, feeling our connection to ground, and trusting our connection to ground equates then into trusting our legs, trusting our support. And that sometimes needs to just be built slowly, gradually. So staying low down to the ground can be a way to build that up, that trust, that support. And we'll switch sides. Taking more, but you're just changing sides now, so the other leg is in a lunge. Hands can be to the inside of the leg or framing either side. And it's more spacious to take the foot out a little bit. You can then lean a little lower down if that's comfortable. Back toes can be tucked under. Stability. Relax your neck. Keep it into your breathing. Staying within your comfort zone. You can gently move forward and back or side to side. The option to come upright. Steadying your stance by tucking the back toes under and steadying your gaze. You can also explore coming fully upright, standing, lunge. This is optional. And that's where we're going to be going next. So whether you approach that from the ground up, or if you approach that from standing and stepping back, either way is fine. I'm going to take us from standing into that lunge sequence, into some standing poses. So you can be standing at the front edge of your mat. I just want to make sure I'm still within view here. I'm going to step the left foot back. And it might not be as wide of a stance if you don't have a sticky surface, because you don't want to slip. So be mindful of that when practicing at home. The back heel, and you could also practice near a wall. Back heel is lifted. The front knee is bent, but no further than the front ankle. So you want the shin bone to be straight up and down. Hands at the hips. Keep spinning that heel up. Back knee can even bend a little bit. Be buoyant here. Re-straighten. Gaze is forward. The shoulders, the elbows back a little bit. But don't overarch the back. You can also tuck a little bit by bringing the tailbone down and lifting the pelvic floor up. Hands can stay at hips for steadiness and balance. A lot of strength here in our legs. This can be done with the back heel down in more of a warrior one fashion as well. Okay, steady yourself to transition to the second side. If you came from the floor up, you can come back down through down dog, with hands and knees, just switch sides, or simply from standing, switch sides. Bring the back heel up, both hips forward facing. This is not a side facing. If you have the back heel down, it will naturally tend to shift your hips to the side. So keep working those hips forward facing. Heel is up, back knee can be buoyant. Front knee, track it no further than the ankle. Because our body likes to have this scaffolding structure. The bones stacked, they get into their place, and then everything kind of lifts up from there. So feel into that with the shoulders, with the hands at the hips, the tail resting down, the back knee bending slightly, so that you can lift up the front body. Continuing to draw the shoulders down on the exhale. Inhaling up the front body. Exhale, straightening and stretching the back leg. Inhale, little lift. And here we will all step forward. You're going to fold forward first a little bit. Put your gaze to the floor, where you're going to bring your hands. You put your hands down and step the back leg forward to meet the front. Hanging forward in a standing forward bend. You can hold on to elbows and nod the head yes and no. Really let out, deep exhale, sigh. Empty the belly. Fill the whole body with breath. And slowly start to lift your head. Now you want to lift your head first. Get some of the blood rushing out of the head, into the heart, down into the hips, down into the legs. From that firm strength we have in our legs, we push upright to standing, slowly. Finding ourselves in mountain pose, palms facing forward. Let's roll the shoulders back and down. Inhale. Lift shoulders, exhale, shoulders back and down. Take a look down with the feet. Make sure the toes are pointing straight ahead. Feet parallel, hip distance, knees not locked. Pelvis buoyant. So not, when we lock the knees, we tend to maybe thrust the torso forward, overarching the back, or we tend to tuck the tail and compress the back. So try to find neutral spine here in mountain pose. And inhale, hands up level just with the chest, with the shoulders. And exhale, palms down, arms rotate down. And continue with this movement of the arms up and down. Again, lifting this time, lifting all the way up and overhead. Again, arms up overhead. Grasp the thumbs, bring the thumbs together, the elbows apart so you can draw the shoulders down. Again, pay attention to back body. If you feel like you're arching too much, bend the knees, tuck the tail slightly, re-straighten the knees, lift the arms. Do a little rotation over to the side, like a crescent moon. Oops. You can have your thumbs together or however your hands are comfortable. Lean back upright. And if that's too much stress for your body, just be mindful and just micro do it. Just a little lean is fine. Go into what feels like an appropriate stretch for you. And come right back. Let's bring hands to heart together. Lifting the elbows. When we collapse the elbows, we're compressing into our rib cage. So just lifting the elbows and pressing the hands together strongly draws the shoulder blades back and down. Big breath there. Exhale, relaxing down the spine. Reminding yourself of buoyancy and inhaling up into the chest and heart and out. I'm going to step wide into Warrior Two and some variations. So you can step your left foot forward and mirroring here. Your ankle to knee ratio again, straight up and down, perpendicular. We don't want the knee too far forward. That's unstable for the knee. So if you need to go narrower, if you're not on a sticky mat, then by all means, take a very narrow stance and you won't be bending very much into this. From that stance, first we establish the foundation, then we bring in the arms and the gaze. The head turns sideways to look over the fingertips. Feel the steadiness, steadfastness through your stance. This is called warrior for a reason. We might call it, or to give it a Hebrew quality, maybe the word netzach, of endurance, that which helps us to persevere, but also to see forward beyond obstacle. And then we're going to come into recline, resting the elbow down. Everything is always balanced action here. So we go into from a strong pose to then a supported pose. Bending into the front knee, looking down, relaxing the neck. Deepening into the support of your breath. And as feels right for you, we're going to bring the arms around, make the circle of time, all the way around the face of a giant clock here. And if it is too much strain for you, then stay with hand at hip. And one more time until that arm swings alongside the face, the palm face down. And lunge a little deeper, and then pull yourself up. Take both feet to the side-facing view and pause, gather strength, stability, foundation, right? The legs, the scaffolding. Take a deep breath and exhale, fold forward. Forward bend, just tabletop here, flat back. Feeling that stretch behind the legs. If it feels comfortable to do so, follow the urge to let the head come down. The torso can flop, essentially. You can fold forward in a forward bend. Hands can come down to the floor. Shift the weight evenly into the whole surface of the foot. So from the ball of the foot, the toes, into the inner heel and outer heel. Slight bend to the knees, pull up from the feet, through the knees into the hips, and pull yourself all the way up, back to standing. Well, heel, toes, feet together, so heels, toes. I like to do that instead of just stepping. To give your body a chance to go from a stretched state to back. So I'm going to change sides here. You're stepping now, probably for you, it's your left leg back. And coming into Warrior Two, second side. Checking your stance, your foundation, right? I came into it with the hands, but I'm also first, okay, are my feet, my knees, my tail, like is this all lining up? Am I spilling the contents of the belly forward? Do I need to lift the belly? Or am I too tucked? Do I need to arch the back? Find that neutral space for you to settle into your steady, perseverant pose. Perseverance. Settling into your breath and stabilizing your vision, fixing your gaze. And then bringing the elbow down to the area above the knee. Other hand comes to hip. You can fold in, fold forward. Or extend your head and neck as an extension of your back leg so that there is a straight line. Into that, we will take the arms around in a rotation if that feels stable and secure enough for you to do that. If not, you stay with hand to the hip. Slow rotation of the arm. And again, as the arm comes alongside the cheek and the head, pause, lunge, lean, look, and then lift. All the way back up to standing. Again, you can parallel the feet to side facing and take that forward lean, forward bend, wherever feels right for you. Pause into that. Taking a few deep breaths. Letting your body release, compress, release. And then start to lift, first by pressing down through the balls of the feet, the inner heel, bending the knees, using the strength of your legs to pull back upright, and slowly heel, toe, the feet back together and back to standing. Next, we're going to practice some balance poses. It's a great idea to practice near a wall. You don't have to have a wall, but I want to show this with the wall. You can even step slightly away from the wall if you'd like. And we're going to come into some leg lifts. Just showing where we're going. We'll do it together, slowly with breath. So when we have the wall for support, it helps to shape our body into optimal alignment with shoulders over hips and over heels. Otherwise, typically, we tend to kind of slouch forward where our hips might be back at the wall, but the shoulders and head aren't always. You can use the wall for support or balance in the center of the room. If you are balancing in the center of the room, your eyes being fixed, probably on the screen, or still point just somewhere on the floor near your screen, is key. Having our eyes, our gaze fixed gives us this central channel ability to not be in one wobble side or the other, but to really gather into our center. From that place, you can hold on to the knee or below the knee, somewhere at the thigh, supporting your lifted leg. Flex the toes and bring the foot up slightly. Now you don't have to have the leg straight. You might have a little tension here. It feels good and you've got the ability to straighten, go ahead. Hold and breathe. Bend and release. Second side. Shifting the weight down now through your other standing leg. Centering yourself with breath. Inhale, lift. Pause. Re-steady. Use your eyes for focus and stability. Pull the shoulders back, tuck tail. Extend the lifted leg out any amount, and it helps to flex the foot. The more active and engaged that leg is, the more it feels like it's supporting itself. Bend, release, and restand on both legs. Palms facing forward, shoulders up, back and down. Inhaling up the front body, exhale, soften down the back body, bend the knees slightly, lean back. Whether you still have a wall near you, you're not actually necessarily leaning on anything, but your back gives you that sense of you've got something at your back and it's very supportive. That in and of itself could spend entire practice of feeling that support at your back. And you can do that with your breath and your awareness. And bring the hands together in front of the heart, lifting the elbows, drawing the shoulders back. Tucking the tail, lifting the low belly. And releasing. We'll now come down to our sitting sequence. And down to the floor. Use a blanket, a towel, pillows, cushions, anything you have nearby for this next seated section. We'll come down to sitting with pillow or blanket. And a word about sitting cross-legged. Oftentimes we sit with our feet tucked in underneath our calves and the knees pull up. When the knees pull up, it has a tendency to make the body sink back and round. And over time, that doesn't feel so great to the back. The back is rounded, the tail is compressed. So what we want to do is actually get a wider base. And sometimes having one foot in front of the other can help, and definitely having something to sit on, whether it's a couple of cushions, having a little bit more height, then enables the knees to come down. Now you don't have to have that much height. If the knees are about level with the hips, that should do it enough. Or you can sit forward on your pillow so that here we get this neutral spine, even though the back there's an arch, that's a neutral, that's a natural curve. You want the low back to come in slightly, not too much, that's an exaggerated arch, but a little bit of a neutral spine here, where there's a little slope. You maintain the natural lumbar curve instead of rounding. Right? The knees are up, the back is going to round. So as much as possible, sit as high as you need to be able to have that back support. That helps to then lift the organs so that the natural pelvic bowl can tilt and the organs can sit and the breath and the diaphragm can extend fully in its range of motion here instead of being compressed. Right? So try to, this is my yoga cat here to join us. Try to take a big breath into the belly, and we'll just bring some attention to this breath for a moment here. Before, when we were in our protected seed-like shape, we brought attention to breathing into the back body. Now we're upright. And we can breathe up the front body and exhale, relaxing down the back body. Try that a few breath cycles of breathing and feeling lift and exhale. Feeling the weight sink down. Inhale. Feeling torso fill. Exhale. Feeling back body. Release. One more time. We're going to bring the hands back behind us here. And that can also help to fill the front body, fill the torso with breath. And as we try to get into a little bit of a deeper hip stretch here, the soles of the feet come together. Again, have some height under the knees, or just a lean back so that the knees can come down and apart. From here, there might be a lot of stretch. You might not be accustomed to feeling as much space, expansiveness in the belly and in the hips. Let's just stay with it for a count of 3 breaths, noticing the sensation, breathing into the sensation, inviting relaxation into the sensation. Let the knees get heavy. Some of you may have taken restorative yoga classes in the past might be familiar with this pose done over a bunch of blankets or bolsters, props. That's something you can also try at home. Typically, we then have a blanket that we put over the feet, under the knees, kind of holds things in place to be able to lean back and rest with gravity helping to open the shoulders. Now, don't worry if you don't have a bunch of pillows right next to you. We're not going to practice that right here, right now together. But I do want to show it as a setup that you can go back to. Next time you watch this video, have the setup and try with a towel or blanket over the feet, and under the knees. Right? And then ability to really lean back on something as a support here. But we'll do this without the props, coming all the way to lie on the back. All you need is one little pillow or one towel, blanket, whatever it is you've got there is fine. We're going to try and keep the feet together and just come back to lying on your back. Now that pillow, it's great if you can use that for your low back so that your head and your shoulders are resting on the ground. If that is too much, and if you have a big pillow, that's most likely going to be too much, in which case just use that pillow for your head as you rest back. This is the point I like to maybe pause and put on some music, and if you have other pillows to support the knees, you can do that. And we're just really letting gravity here open at the hips and letting breath fill the abdomen. We really need to give this a few minutes of time because we're not used to having the weight off. Want the weight off of the belly. Instead of being vertical with all of the pressure downward on all of the organs inside the abdomen, here we're horizontal. And there's more room created in the abdomen. And into that room, into that spaciousness, we take our deep breaths and our deep sigh of release, allowing gradual softening to permeate every fiber of the belly. Feel free to use your hands as well if you'd like to. Place hands over the belly, over the heart. And bring that feeling, that sense of the rainbow of light spreading throughout the central channel of your being, central channel of your body. Invite 3 more deep breaths here. Excuse me. Sometimes sneezing, releasing happens. 1 more big breath. the knees in, coming back into a little seed-like shape. I'm going to turn to a different angle here. And you're lying on your back, hugging the knees, head down. Rock back and forth, side to side. Massage your back on the floor. Here's the camera. Now rocking side to side. And then again, let the knees come apart and bring your hands to the insides of the knees. Start moving your hands down towards your ankles. Let the knees come out wide. And the feet again together. See if you can hold on to one ankle or one foot and lift that foot. So sometimes grasping onto the outside edge of the foot is possible. You can stretch one side, releasing that side and holding onto the other foot, either at the ankle or at the pinky toe side of the foot. Knees stay pretty low down to the ground. Feel free to go with both feet, rocking side to side. It does help to massage the low back, the adrenals, the kidneys. Bring the knees back together. Go ahead and stretch the right leg out on the floor. And we'll just hold on to the underside of the left thigh. You roll your shoulders back so that the head of the arm rolls down towards the floor, like you're not pulling your arms up off of the floor. Shoulders rest down as much as possible. Feel free to bend that knee and relax the arms, chest, and shoulder. And then flex the foot and start to straighten. Feel some trembling, perhaps. It's a good thing. It's getting, again, some fire going, some ignition started in the leg, and also releasing. We warm things up here with fire in the body. We help to burn off and release that which is no longer needed. Sometimes folks practice this in yoga classes with a yoga strap. If you have a strap, a towel, and you want to use that over your foot, you can. And release that leg down on the floor. Let's take a big overarm stretch. Reaching the arms up overhead. And then exhaling, hugging the right knee in. The same thing with this leg, holding onto the underside of the thigh, keeping the knee bent at first, the shoulders rolling back. Try to regain that natural arch to the back so that the low back is not compressed too flat, that there's a little bit of buoyancy, a little lift here under the low back. So that might happen by bending the knee more. And then just notice what point your back might start to strain as you're lifting your leg, and back off a little bit. Work with that edge of the back not working, just getting the leg to stretch. Shaking is fine. Flexing the toe. Pressing the foot up towards the ceiling can invigorate and engage and shake off a little more tension. Even stretching out through the bottom leg, through the bottom foot, both feet engaged. And release. Stretch that leg out. Again, another overarm stretch. And back. We're going to come into a bridge pose. So the feet are on the ground, hip distance apart. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can take a break here, pause here, or use a little support underneath your hips. So just give a little bit of a lift to the hips and be in what is called a supported bridge. This is your supported bridge. It can be as high up or as low down as you like. It can be with a block. And for the purposes of our practicing together in this moment, I'm going to encourage you to have a pillow nearby, whether it's underneath you or not, and use your legs though. You're still using our tremendous strength and power that we have in our large muscle groups of our glutes and our thighs and our legs to lift up. Exhale, roll back down. Important word about your head and neck here. There's some compression as we lift everything up and all the energy rushes to the head. So let's just keep that chin up, not tucked towards the chest. Don't turn side to side to look at the camera at this point. Keep your gaze up. Again, press down through your feet to lift your hips, just lifting the hips up and holding here for a moment. You'll feel that gravity rolling up towards your throat, lifting your chin. Rest your arms down. You can even roll your shoulders back down underneath you a little bit more. Clasp your hands. Keep the hips lifted for one more breath. And then exhale and start to let the hips come down. Here's where you have a pillow. You place it underneath your hips. And we'll pause here for 3 full breaths. So if there's a little pillow underneath the hips, you're getting a little bit of a tilt and a flow of gravity from the legs all the way awash up to the throat, to the head and the neck. Some pressure on the eyes. And again, this stimulates the relax response. There is a relaxation response that counteracts the stress response. One of the keys to that is the pressure. The pressure behind the eyes. When you sleep with an eye pillow, it puts that little bit of pressure behind the eyes, behind the eyeballs. And that signals the brain that we're not in a fight or flight mode. There's not a tiger. We've got this weight on our eyes. Usually that's not the situation we find ourselves in when there's a tiger in the room. So it stimulates us out of the fight or flight response of stress and into the rest and digest. That's why this little bit of upside down practice can be really helpful for states of sleep and states of relaxation, to induce a deeper sense of relaxation and promote sleep and rest. Okay, we're going to do one more variation on this theme, which if you have the wall nearby, I'm going to encourage you to move to the wall and let your legs rest up the wall. Again, this can be with a cushion underneath the hips or without the cushion underneath the hips. But just a few more breaths, a few minutes of those legs resting up at the wall. And if you really want to do a big upside down head rush experience, then you can have lots of pillows at your wall and the head down below. Right? This can be done in bed with the legs up the wall and the hips on a bunch of pillows. It can be fun. And really can be very safe and effective to practice for 10 or 15 minutes. Although most of us might feel a little funny upside down for that long. So you can always just try for 3 breaths, or extend those 3 breaths into 3 minutes. And to come out, you roll to your side and slowly make your way back to lying flat on your mat. my stretching out for Shavasana here. You don't actually need any support under your head, but if you would like some warmth, gather that up for yourself. Our body temperature can drop in these states of deep relaxation. So finally, we want to go into the practice of Shavasana, and it is a relaxation practice. And if it's uncomfortable or boring for you, or you don't feel like you're doing it right, welcome to the club. It's the nature of our minds to not want to practice necessarily this. So we do what we can. We can count the breath. We can fall asleep. Or we can set up a little timer for ourselves to stay in this for 3 minutes or for 15 minutes. So I'm going to give us a 3-minute practice here, and we'll start with noticing the breath, and you can place hands on the belly and on the heart. Take a big yawn. And allow your breath to settle. Relax your arms if you don't want to keep the hands there. We've been focusing a little bit on gravity. So allow your body to register and integrate this whole practice of this pull of gravity, this whole practice of being on the floor. It might not be a familiar practice, or it might be a very familiar welcome practice. Whatever the case may be, allow yourself in this moment to say hello to gravity. And then simultaneously to give a nod to breath, to levity, to that fullness of inhale that brings with it a floating sensation, a lifting sensation. And so pay attention just for the next 3 breaths to the inhale bringing levity, and the exhale bringing a release, a sinking, a heaviness. And we'll drop into the next 2 minutes of silence. And you can continue to pay attention to the breath and the body, or let that attention soften, just allowing the eyeballs to soften and letting the whole body integrate, the whole body soften. gradually, you start to invite your senses back by becoming aware of your surroundings, opening your eyes and not rushing to sit up, but rolling to your side and pausing there. Allowing yourself spaciousness to integrate even just that 3-minute journey. Pausing with an exhale. And then pushing yourself back upright to a sitting position. And you can sit on your pillow, blanket. Feel yourself returning into this verticality. And we'll join left and right, the two sides of what can be known as the tree of life. If we put that in our bodies, we are bringing our right and left sides together to connect into this place of the heart, in the place where we access our depth, our wisdom, our judgment, where we can bring in the light from the crown, from above, all the way down through our foundation and into back to the ground. It goes back to groundedness and earth. So for now, left and right together, let's drop the crown of the head down. Deep exhale. On the inhale, keeping the hands together, lift the elbows. So instead of having the elbows folded in, you just lift the elbows and press the hands together a little more strongly. From that place, feel the buoyancy in the breath filling in all the spaces where light was not reaching. And exhale, softening, folding into your own softness. It is a yogic saying, very familiar to many, that the light that resides within me sees and acknowledges the light that radiates all around, even when it's dark. And that's the meaning of the yogic phrase, namaste. Thank you. Gratitude for being in this practice and this journey together.